Okay, so I'm gonna make a quick video because the last time I showed this off, it got a lot of attention. A lot of people started sending me messages in my inbox about how to do it. Basically what we got is we got a Butler Creek focus cap that we have put together. The Butler Creek is a number 9 and the focus cap is a 1.5 by 25 millimeter. So today what I'm going to basically do is I'm going to run you guys through kind of this whole little setup for my PVS 14. The only thing you're going to need is you're going to need the dimmest shield that came with it, the sacrificial lens. You're going to need a Butler Creek number 9, obviously, the adjustable iris, which is what this is when it comes out of the box. So you also going to need a couple of Ranger bands. I like to use the smallest size possible and then just shave them as I need. And I'm going to kind of run you guys through that. In order to save time, I've already done all the measuring, but to give you guys kind of a lowdown on what that looks like. All right, so I went from this inner lip, okay, and I measured 9 to 10 centimeters up, and then 3 centimeters from the seam where the, what would you call that, the swivel is at, down, and then 34 centimeters all the way across. Now, just to double check, I mean, this is kind of basic stuff, but just to double check, you're gonna go 9 to 10 up, and then 9 to 10 up, and then just check it across to make sure that your line is straight. Now, what we're gonna do is we're gonna take a Dremel, and you can do this one of two ways. If you're careful enough, you can use a cutting wheel. That seems to work pretty solidly, or you can use one of these diamond cone-shaped polishers. And these actually work really well, but you just gotta be careful because this can get you wider than you want. So in my opinion, it's best to start with this, cut the line that you need to cut, and then use this to get it as thick as you need to. So we're just gonna do that real fast. And just like everything in life, something to keep in mind when doing this is it's best to go slow. You go too fast, you end up taking more plastic, rubber, polymer, whatever this is made out of, than you want to, and you've kind of fucked yourself. So go slow. You can always remove more. You can't put any back. So just take it easy. Okay, so now that we've got that cut, you usually end up with quite a bit of leftover. All you're gonna do is take an X-Acto knife and you're going to trim that off. It's pretty easy to do. You can kind of go from the inside and make your cut appropriately. And usually you end up with a pretty solid line. It'll also show you where you've made some simple mistakes, but a lot of that can be fixed and prettied up once you're done. But again, this is about functionality, not about a beauty contest. So as long as it works, saves you some money, doesn't really make that big a deal, make that big a difference. So we've got our cuts, and what we're going to do from here is we're going to install our iris, kind of just see where it sits, and then make more adjustments as it goes. The likelihood of you getting this right the first time, not super high. So just be mindful of that. I could tell already that I didn't go down the line enough, so I'm going to add a little more. And that should be it. Let's again remove the excess that we have. Clean that line up just a bit. You've also got some on the inside. I don't know if you guys are going to be able to pick that up very well, but yeah, there it is. But again, take your take your knife, take your blade, and just run along the inside to clean all that off. And it's usually what you end up with. So pretty simple stuff. So all we're doing now is cleaning and making sure the inside is nice and clean. The inside is what's really important, because when you put that iris down in there, you don't want anything getting caught up and separating the iris from the housing. That way you're not having water or anything else getting trapped. So the nice thing about these irises, just to point out, the first thing I thought when I bought it was, how am I going to get that little lever through the hole to get it to actually fit? But what's nice is that lever unscrews, so that you can actually just pop that down in there and then put the lever in through the area that you need to. So we're going to do that now. When you first do this, what you're going to discover is you're going to discover that when you want to put this inside, this bottom one wants to buckle in. So you kind of got to finagle with it a little bit to get it to actually seat, just like that. The other thing that would be smart to do, that I didn't just do, is to actually open your iris all the way so that you're not damaging your iris as you try to install it. Now, the nice thing is that I think that pretty much came out perfect. Let's screw this in and see what we did. I might need to shave a little off the top, but that's all right. That is okay. Forgive me for the jankiness of this video. This is kind of the first time I've ever done one of these, but again, a lot of you guys were asking questions, and so I just kind of want to be helpful as I can and save you guys some money, because those mat blocks are super nice, but they are super expensive. You're talking like 240 bucks for, I think, one. I don't even think they come in a pair. And total cost of all the materials here runs about 40 bucks, so you end up saving yourself like $200, which is nice. And yeah, okay, fine, it's a little airsofty, but again, the truth is, if it fucking works, everyone else can shut the fuck up. So again, this part, I'm using this polish tip to kind of widen this out a little bit and give myself a little bit more room to work with for my iris's lever. When you first do this, it's gonna look kind of janky. You're gonna feel like, oh God, this looks horrible. But again, if you take your X-Acto knife, you can actually clean this off very, very well and get it looking pretty good. It takes a little bit of time for sure, but shit, if I could take 20 minutes and make one of these and save myself 200 bucks, why the fuck wouldn't I, you know? Sorry if I'm kind of moving in and out of screen here. I'm set up on an island in my kitchen, and I'm going top down so that you guys can kind of see the way this works. But we've got her pretty much cleaned up. We've got her nice and I think tight enough that it should feel pretty good when you actually install it. So that's what we're going to try and do now. Again, keep your iris open, open your cap, and finagle that front side. And then just drop that guy right in there, and it should look relatively good. Something else you can do is if you see that you maybe haven't gone quite far enough back while it's in there, as long as you're careful, you can kind of use your X-Acto knife to cut away if you have to, or cut a little extra, which sometimes is the case. I've only done like 3 of these. No, that's a lie. I've done 2 of these, this being the 3rd. And honestly, it's not that hard to do. So now we've got the iris installed, and we've got the lever added, and she is tight, but she works wonders. So that's the way that works. Now, installation. You've got a nice little cap, you've got a nice little iris. Let's talk about how to add that bad boy to your tube. So the way that I've done mine is the way that I'm going to do this one here for my buddy, my brother. And I'll show you guys kind of how to set this up. So I mentioned that you need a couple of small Ranger bands. I've got one pre-cut for the sacrificial lens, which actually we're going to flip and add to the back of our tube. And then the dimmest shield, we're going to again take and we're going to put it on the front. And why would we do this? Well, it's actually pretty simple to understand. You're going to take your Ranger band, you're going to cut about 1/4, maybe even 1/3 off. I usually typically start with 1/4 and just kind of go from there. Use an X-Acto knife or sharp blade. I kind of don't like using the X-Acto knives on this part just because I feel like the rubber can tend to get caught. So good blade, Tor knives, Cryptia. Cut 1/4 off, and then what we're going to do is we're going to take our tube. We are going to stretch our band, and what we're going to do is we're going to actually push this over the top, and we want a little bit of overhang. So pretty much just like that. And the reason why you want some overhang is you can now take that dimmest shield and you can actually put that down in the rubber, and the rubber creates like a seal, and now you've got an acting sacrificial lens between the outer lens of your tube and your focus cap, which you're then just going to put over the top. The reason why we're using a Ranger band is because it makes it tight, and that allows it to stay in place pretty securely. And I do mean securely. Now, obviously you're not going to be fucking grabbing your tube like this ever, because that's just fucking retarded. But once you actually get your tube focused, which this still allows you to do, once you figure out exactly where you want it to be, you can then take your cap off and adjust it accordingly. So if we've got the up and down, some of us want it to be perfect because we're autistic, and that's okay. So you could do it just like that. Now, what are we doing with our sacrificial lens? We're going to take another one of these bands, and again, this one we cut about 1/3 off almost every time. If you cut 1/4 off, it ends up being a little bit too big. If you cut 1/2 off, it ends up being so small that it's kind of a pain in the ass to work with. Do me a favor, hold that straight up like this. Thank you. Then what we're going to do is we're going to stretch this over that lip. If you actually take a look here, you're going to see that there's kind of a bladed lip around this right here. This is what we want to get covered. So what we're going to do is we're going to stretch this over that and make sure that that is where our band is at. Now, if you don't do this the right way, your band will end up getting caught underneath, and then you kind of have to fucking take a minute or two to get it kind of off, and that's kind of a pain in the ass. So I basically make it to where the band is just like that, and then I take my sacrificial lens and I put it over this, and now I've got a lens covering the back, and it doesn't affect my field of view with my tube. If you don't like the fact that some of that rubber is still showing, well, again, pop your lens off and kind of just pull accordingly to where you want it to sit, so that you don't have too much showing. And this is why I said you take about half off, because if you have too much, it's a real fight to get it where you want it. Now, that's the way she goes, guys. You've got yourself a covered front cap, a focus ring that has a sacrificial lens underneath, and you have a sacrificial lens on the back to protect your tube. So that's the way she goes. Thanks for tuning in. Keep in mind that 422, baby. Yeet!